Good evening and welcome to the Standards of Geekness podcast. I am one half of your hosts, Evan Jones.
And I am the other half. I'm Brian Mercer. How you doing, Evan?
I'm doing good. I accidentally fell asleep with my child, so sorry for the late delay to the start of the podcast, guys. Sometimes when you're falling asleep with your child, it just happens. uh, but yeah, so we've got kind of an interesting week. We went from a very drama-filled week, where we were discussing last week. Which, by the way, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody who tuned in last week to our Did Rock Ruin Wrestling episodes, one of our highest viewed episodes in a while. Want to thank you guys. But this week we had, not only did we have returns that happened in the WWE that we didn't touch on last week just because we went long on the show, but we had a lot of releases, your typical post Mania releases, and there were some interesting names on here.
Man,
Um,
okay. One, I'll start with one. I'm just gonna say this flat out. The first one that I'm kind of just shocked about is Braun Strowman. Man,
well,
I I I've come to the conclusion that Triple H really has a hard time knowing how to book giants. And I remember some comments that he made about Paul White, and didn't know how to deal with uh, Big Show, and I think
mhm.
that's translating here to the exact same problem with Braun Strowman. I don't think that
Yeah, I
Triple
mean,
H knows how to book a big man, a
I
really big man.
definitely agree with you there. Um, in my opinion, it's been one of those things where he's always struggled with building big men, at least the Giants in particular. He did a really good job booking Bronson Reed in
Hmm.
how his presentations worked. So I know he's capable of booking them. I just think that maybe we're used to one process when it comes to Giants, and maybe I think there's a failure to launch also that's a factor because Braun's a former WWE Universal Champion. He's had good feuds. We know he can kind of work. He's actually been working with a 15% paralyzed leg apparently for a while now due to some injuries. Um, but it's really interesting, and I think the thing for me that's really interesting is the fact that Strowman apparently was frustrated that he wasn't on the WrestleMania 41 card, and allegedly Heyman told him it's because you suck. And then it was also touched on at the roast, which WWE is also doing anything it can to bury that roast because it was fucking terrible. And it was a terrible fucking idea. Like I called that months ago. That booking
But
Tony
yeah,
Hinchcliffe. He's not funny. He's not funny. Like
no.
he's a trash comedian. Like I said what I said.
But no,
It's one of those
if
things.
you're gonna honestly, if you're gonna book a roast, like I'm a guy who loves a good roast,
Oh yeah, no,
but
I
a
absolutely love a
handful
good roast.
there's a handful of people who are very adept at doing roast. I don't think you'd have a problem getting Jeff Ross to come and do a roast of WWE.
Yeah, like there's tons of those type of comedians out there. Tony Hinchcliffe is literally bottom. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel because you couldn't find anybody else. Like, so yeah, I feel kind of bad for Braun. I'm sure that he will land on his feet somewhere. Hopefully, I don't think AEW necessarily might be the right spot because they can't really book giants or shit either. I think New Japan would be an interesting option for Braun to go out there, learn a different style, learn a different presentation, reinvent himself. Um, the interesting one here to me is Dakota Kai. They spent months building her up for that Intercontinental Championship tournament and to face Lyra Valkyrie, and like they had a good feud going, and I thought they were teasing turning her heel, and then they just all of a sudden benched her. And I know that we talked about it here, that they didn't have anything to do that maybe sending her back down to development because she was she's an okay worker, but she didn't exactly have the best work rate. I still didn't expect her to get released, mostly because she seemed to be a Triple H favorite for a while. But there's a lot of names on here. Shayna Baszler, I was shocked she got released. I expect her to end up in AEW. That just makes perfect sense. It's just they feature her on the GCW show Mania weekend, so like I'm not sure what to make of that. But they also I think the WWE women's tag division might just be cursed because they've released like every tag team at this point.
Now, I think a lot of what it is, and I think this is a competitiveness in the locker room that hasn't been there in this way prior. Everybody, especially in the Attitude Era, you hear about people competing for their spot and their time on
Hmm.
the show. And one big thing that has come from uh, women's wrestling, the rise in women's wrestling, is you still have a show that is, you know, this long. This is how long it's going to be every week. And you already had people that were competing for those time slots, and now you have a whole nother aspect of the card that is
Hmm.
also competing for those times and those time slots. And I'm not going to get into any kind of debate about women's wrestling versus men's wrestling. I have my own
Yes,
opinions on that,
there's
you
no
know.
winning that debate.
But the fact of the matter is like a lot of these names that you're mentioning, they weren't they. Shayna Baszler, like I'll say, Shayna Baszler has been given her chance on the main roster, and it has failed to land. She doesn't come
Well,
across as she's not she's not coming across as threatening to me in the way that she was when she was in NXT. Her presentation and presentation is a big part of it, but it's also what people do with their presentation. Like you
yeah, no,
can't like Shayna Baszler is a person who has had time on television, who has been given big feature matches, and like
I don't disagree with you. I think there's an interesting rumor that's been going around that take it with a grain of salt. Dave Meltzer was reporting that this was a targeted cut, focused primarily on people who were seen as overvalued for what they're worth to bringing to the table was. And there was also people who were lazy, quote unquote. And I don't think you could sit there and call somebody who's at the training center day in and day out in NXT, working their ass off, going to every show you ask. You can't call them lazy. Are they connecting with the audience as well as you'd hope? No. It was interesting. The most shocking one, honestly, for me, honestly, was probably Cora Jade in NXT and Gigi Dolan. Gigi's had a lot of opportunities there, and she's kind of always ended up in tag teams. They didn't really do a lot of favors for her with the whole JC Jane heel turn on her and the matches they had. They were just not good matches. But like to me, it's wild that she got released, but like somebody like Nikita Lyons is still employed. Um, not that I wish anybody to lose their job, but like it's night and
the
day.
amount. Oh, I gotta disagree with you. The amount of time that is spent, and it has already been spent on Gigi Dolan's versus Nikita Lyons. I mean, like if that amount of time has been put into Nikita Lyons and she's still performing at the level she is, then I think she gets cut too.
I
You know,
think.
I mean,
I mean, she was
Gigi
injured for a
Dolan's
while.
been around for a while. Gigi Dolan's been around for a while. Is my point. She's been around for a while. She has had opportunities on NXT to try and thrive, and I mean, I don't personally think that she's done anything spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do her a whole lot of favors with how they handled the whole toxic attraction. Like with Mandy Rose's sudden departure, they didn't really have a plan in place. But the thing is, I don't think she capitalized on it either. There was a moment where I think she could have done something. She cut a promo that was good, but then it just went nowhere. And I think that's kind of a multi-factor thing. I think it's a combination of their booking and the landing of the promo. Like you start a promo, you deliver a really good promo, you have to keep the ball moving forward. Um, The Cora Jade one was honestly the most shocking because they've been pushing her and I mean Gigi. They've both been on multiple shows. NXT, they were in TNA, they were in on Raw. Like they were clearly pushing these people in some regards. I don't know if they were pushing them to try to get them exposure, if they were pushing them to try to get reactions, but like Cora Jade was someone that they heavily invested in. I know, yeah, she was injured multiple times, but she actually could work. So I, she made some interesting
But
comments on social media.
there's a whole statement that's made here of like a lot of these cuts are made not because these people are bad workers, but because they're overvalued on their contracts.
Hmm.
And
It is a
legitimately,
business side.
you, you can say that about every I think that's a fair statement about pretty much every name that got cut. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
what is the contract worth versus what are you bringing to the product right now?
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's not that now I also think that we could very easily, by that statement, see several of these um, wrestlers end up getting, rehired in the next month, 2 months, with reduced contracts, with the potential for them to, get back to the earnings that they had. But and
Well,
I'm
then
not
that's
trying to
that's
take
a
away
bad business
anything.
decision. That's a bad
I'm
business
not saying
decision on WWE's
I'm not saying
like.
it's I'm not saying it's the way that I would want business to be done, but I am saying that it's a business model that WWE and TKO have kind of already demonstrated over the past few years that they do this. So I
I
think,
mean,
I think if I'm working for WWE and I know that I'm in that lower mid card, you know, kind of area where I'm not sure if I'm going to be on television every week, I, realistically, you got to be wondering if you're going to be on that cut list at the end of April.
yeah, I
I think that's
mean,
just I think that's just the point where we're at with it now. I don't like it. I'm not saying that I like it. I'm not saying this is how I want the business to be. I'm just trying to be realistic. Like this
yeah,
is what's happening, so therefore,
no, I mean, I definitely understand the business aspect of it. I just think that like I think that it's kind of forcing people to pay for your mistakes. If you offer someone a contract at a higher wage and they don't perform to the standards, you're well within their rights to let them go. But it's also your fault for offering them a contract that's over inflated to begin with. Like I think we're in this weird tension where AEW coming into the business created an environment where people are getting paid more, and WWE was also in the habit of, for a few years of not paying or paying people more just to have them under the WWE umbrella than letting AEW have them. And I think it's a mistake on WWE's part to necessarily come out and make statements blaming these people for being lazy, blaming these people for being, you know, not good
well, I
enough.
think they're always trying to make excuses and give reasons to fans who are fans of these wrestlers. This is they did this. You I think there's a better PR way to handle it. I agree with you, but I'm just trying to be realistic in the situation. Evan, the third member of our inner circle would like the link. If you want to go ahead and send that to him.
I already added him. I'm actually sharing on our social
Ah,
media right now.
that,
Chris, how you doing, buddy? Go ahead. You guys can go ahead and talk for a minute. I'll get these links shared up so you guys can all find us no matter where you're at.
I'm doing
welcome
all right.
back
How
to
are
the
you?
pod.
How are my brothers doing?
Doing all right. We're hosting the weekly podcast. It's kind of weird. Chris pops up and the British Nugget disappears. Did you send him? Did you put him in timeout?
I did.
No,
Talk. You talk to his mom a little
the
too much.
there's only so much Mark energy that can be on the show at any given time. You see,
And Daniel does have BME, Big Mark energy.
you, you can't. You never see Chris and Daniel in the same place at the same time. I think there might be something there.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. So Chris, we're talking about the WWE releases and like our thoughts on them, and I think of the names mentioned here on this list, I think a few of them will end up back in WWE eventually. I think AEW will probably pick up a few of them for ROH. I think AEW is actually their best product going on right now is their women's division. If I was them, I would snap up Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, and Cora, Gigi, and Caden Carter and Katana Chance and build a tag division there, specifically a women's tag division and a women's mid-card division. I think that's their ace in the hole right now.
Did they release?
Did
you say they released Jade Cargo?
No, Caden
Cargill.
Oh,
no, they've got too much invested in Jade Cargill now. They're probably going to put the title on her soon.
I definitely agree with you. Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler in AEW makes just the most sense. I think you need some fresh blood, especially to work with Mercedes Moné, and I think both of those names are capable of working with Mercedes Moné. So I think that would be.
I would bring Shayna in as Mercedes Moné's heater.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I would start her off at, right out the gate.
I think Braun's done though.
It wouldn't shock me if he's done or if he's. We were talking about how I thought he might end up in New Japan, because he could work a harder style there and not have to. I think maybe a little less running. He needs to work as an actual big man and give up a. He did his best work as a monster heel. He needs to go back to that. Stop trying to force the baby.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the injuries he's had lately, I think that's why. I know I read somewhere about how he had a conversation. I think it was with Heyman or something about why he wasn't on Mania, and like Heyman or whoever he was talking to was like, "You're not good enough," or "You're not what you used to be," or something like that. I don't remember what the exact words were used, but
we talked about that.
It correlated a lot about his injuries and stuff. So I wouldn't see if he ever came back to WWE. I think it'd be like literally as a part timer, like putting people over, like he kind of did towards the tail end of this run.
What's sad about it though is like there's a couple of guys like Obafemi. Like, I mean, he's still under contract to WWE, but never gets seen.
Oh, almost. You mean almost?
Or almost. Sorry, almost.
Obafemi's a future.
Obafemi, but he's the same kind of thing.
He's a future WrestleMania. Yeah, future WrestleMania.
But he's on NXT. He's on NXT right now. The way these guys get treated over on NXT and are booked over on NXT is completely different from when they get over onto the main roster. So we'll see how Obafemi does when he gets to the main roster. I meant almost. I apologize for that. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Look, my point is like we've got a couple of these huge guys, and personally, I mean, like those are always the matches that I'm kind of like, oh man, I want to like. Because you see someone like almost, and you get him on a streak where a tear where he's just running through all of these guys. You get, Braun Strowman on a tear where he's running through all these guys, and then you have them smash into each other, and it's like, all right, rubber just met the road. you can't just run over this one.
Yeah, the immovable object and the unstoppable force collide.
Yeah, to me the interesting thing about Omos is he's still under contract, but didn't they just have him in at Noah as a tag team champion, and then he vacated his part of the belt to his other tag team.
He vacated the title to go back to WWE, and they've literally done
nothing.
Like the most I saw out of him on WrestleMania weekend was he showed up on one of Simon Miller's ups and downs videos. Like on
Yeah,
what culture? That's the most you got out of almost all weekend.
I saw him more on TikTok than I saw him in WrestleMania weekend.
And it's sad because he's personable too.
Yeah,
Like
he might be the most personable big man they've ever had. Like he can actually talk, and like they don't let him, which is atypical. You know, I know typically the Giants they have a manager they pair him with, and I think if they're gonna bring him back, he is the perfect big man in terms of like having that. You
he
know, it might be
actually, in some ways, reminds me of Andre.
that's exactly
Like
what I was
Who are you talking about?
almost.
Almost.
He's 7 foot what 3? You know, almost
Yeah, I think
500
he's like
pounds.
7'2", 7'3", something like that.
yeah,
Like
he's
and
absolutely enormous, but he has that ability. Okay, like he has that ability to look absolutely threatening and scary as hell, just like Andre. But at the same time, he has that ability to peel it back and to give you a genuine smile and a laugh, and it's that same kind of laugh like Andre had, like that deep throated laughing like a fucking giant. Like you're speaking to a man who's larger than life, and that's genuinely who he is, and that's okay. Uh, he's not trying to be a giant. He is a giant.
yeah, I
And
mean,
that's my thing with Giants. It's like I Andre was a one of a kind, and the Giants that come after him. I'm not knocking
it's
what
all
they
been
brought. I'm not knocking what they've brought to the business in one aspect or another because they've all brought something. But Andre was a different animal when it came to Giants, and I think almost is right up there. Like I think he could end up being like they talk basketball the next Jordan. I think almost could be the next Andre.
yeah. I mean, I don't think there will ever be another Andre, but the way they've presented him and protected him, you know, he hasn't really been injured to my knowledge. I think maybe they're just holding him off for something worthwhile, but it's wild to me the people that they're keeping under contract versus some. I mean, some of these names it makes sense why they why they were released, given what Brian said, given what we know. But like we've talked about how WWE's women's mid card division is a dumpster fire. Honestly, I was not very interested in the women's Intercontinental Championship until this last week. First time I've actually given a damn about it, and it wasn't because of Becky Lynch. And like their tag team division is, I don't even know who are the women's tag champs right now, and I feel bad saying that, but I don't. They have failed to present that in a meaningful way.
Isn't it? Liv Morgan
Oh
and
yeah,
the bit
yeah.
that beastie kick.
Yep.
It's
Raquel
Raquel
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I
I'm
feel
kind of
sad
proud.
that
Good job, Chris. Good job. You knew the answer to that, and Evan didn't. You get a standards of greatness gold star. That's one more than Daniel has. Daniel, I know you're watching this right now, and I just like to point out that Chris has been on for all of like 7 minutes, and he's got a gold star. Evan, you want to put up the graphic?
oh, wait a minute. Chris hasn't been here. Do 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 do.
Yeah, there you go, Daniel. Daniel, do fucking better. Get yourself a gold star.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where these people land. I hope that wish them all the best. I do think it is a shame that anybody would spread a rumor that people are lazy without anything to actually back it up.
oh, absolutely. I don't think any of them are
Um,
lazy. I think a lot of them are just like Shane Baszler and the other. They were part of Damage Control, weren't they?
no, Shayna Baszler was part of Pure Fusion Collective with Sonya
Or
Deville, who got released earlier this year. Like, poor Zoe fucking Stark. Everybody she gets involved with gets released.
but no,
Like,
that's the thing about WWE releases. It's fickle
it's
because
almost all.
like
It's almost always
you get
business.
released, and even if you don't make your way back, you always seem to land on your feet somewhere, and the internet buzzes with your debut somewhere else, and all of a sudden you get a jetpack strapped to your back, and all of a sudden you're the next big thing, and company, and
Yeah, exactly.
so
And
I think they'll all land on their feet, and they'll all end up somewhere where their careers can, you know, go move at a more upward trajectory, and maybe they will be back after. Like, look at Drew McIntyre, like he disappeared after being the chosen one and came back and was on a tear for a while.
I
exactly.
definitely think that there'll be a return for several of these
Yeah.
individuals, and I
Yeah.
think a couple of them will never come back because I think, quite frankly, they like. I'll be honest. I don't think Shayna Baszler will ever be back. She's one who I think that she is a charisma vacuum, and and yeah,
So
she's better off just
interesting.
being used as heavy over in AEW.
Interesting and funny enough is I follow her on TikTok and a couple of. She's actually personable when she talks as herself. So that's the funny thing. I think this
We got to get the
they
mouth guard
present.
out first.
I think if maybe they let her speak and have a little bit of a actual meaningful thing behind it, I think she'd be fine. I do agree. I think she's better off as a heavy. I don't think she should be the focal point. She's a legit badass. She's got a legit fighting background, and you know, her match with
Okay.
Ronda Rousey.
They already screwed it up though because they had a golden opportunity. Like, all right, a little what if, a little mini what if right now for you. All right. What if when Nia Jax was on her tear and she had won the Queen of the Ring and then won the women's championship and was destroying woman after woman after woman after woman? What if the person you had step up to her would have been Shayna Baszler? And like,
Agreed.
yeah, you can knock down all of them. Try that shit with me.
Yeah, no, they had a golden opportunity there. I think with her, they presented her in such a meaningful way in NXT. I think they did themselves a disservice by not continuing that, or at least not trying to re-emulate that.
I don't
To me, it's just
understand what the point is. Like, why are you booking people so great on NXT and making them into these like stars and then bringing them onto the main roster and going, okay, now that they're on the main roster, they're trash and they're nothing like what they were while they were being successful. It doesn't make sense.
well,
It's
she
a
came up at a time when Vince was in charge. So like, unless they were like the next big thing in NXT, they weren't getting that chance. Like that was Vince's track record with NXT. He viewed it as a threat, and I honestly think some of the people that came up after, especially after they lost some the mini Wednesday Night War, I think I think the people that came up got punished as a result of it. Oh, you couldn't beat AAW. Well, here's Spartacus 2.0 and shit like that.
poor Karrion
Um,
Cross.
Well, my thing about it is when they do that, when they do stuff like that, when you get somebody who comes up in XD and is just that star, and they go to the main roster, and then they flop around like a fish out of water, and they get no traction. Well, okay, send them back to NXT to groom what they're trying to do and get better at it. And why not? And that's the other half of that is some of these wrestlers actually like are really good when they're being themselves. Like when they speak as themselves, even though they're a character, when they speak for themselves, they're good. Like, and the people, the fans get behind them, and they get into it. But when you sit there and micromanage that and don't let them, that's when the fans kind of are like, eh. At least that's my feeling of it.
yeah,
You know,
I definitely can see
the
that point.
Mark has a point again. That's another gold star for Chris. Again, Daniel needs to do better. Um, I mean, Baron Corbin, I think, is a really good example of having a star who did really good on NXT. You brought him up to the main roster. You gave him several opportunities. He wasn't connecting with the main roster audience. You sent him back to NXT. I mean, I personally am not a big Baron Corbin fan, but I do recognize that on both of his NXT runs, he was having success with that audience.
Well, and I don't. So honestly, they did such a good job protecting him on the main roster for the first like couple of years he was there. They presented him very well. I think they gave him the Money in the Bank briefcase, and I think they gave it to him too soon. I think they completely flopped that. I think they Baron Corbin is a lesson in he's talented when presented right. Having him feud with John Cena and losing the Money in a briefcase and like all these things to undermine him, and then the feud with Roman Reigns that seemed to last forever that involved dog food. Like King
I
Corbin was
think
great. That was a good time for his career. Like the problem is it was Brock Lesnar syndrome during that time. Brock was the top guy. He wasn't around. It kind of became a laughing stock, a meme, and Baron Corbin became the butt of the jokes. When in reality, under normal circumstances, Reigns would have been the champion. Corbin would have been facing him for the title. Like I think that with him in particular, there's a great take it with a fine tooth comb or with a grain of salt.
Well,
Because
my thing is like they, the vibe I get and the feeling I get at times is I get that NXT is kind of a training ground. It like see what stars connect with what audience, but that it's a proven fact that that doesn't correlate to the main roster. So instead of treating NXT like a training ground and going, oh, they're popping with the audience, the audience loves them. Let's bring them up to the main roster and watch them fail. Okay, just run NXT like another show, like just like it would be
they do
Raw or
that.
SmackDown, and just
yeah.
let people run and let the fans be the fans there and let them have the success there. Doesn't mean they're bad, just means it's a different audience, at least to me anyway.
Well,
No, I
and
mean
they do, but at the same time, you got to think of it from the wrestler's perspective. Like, if you get into the business, like you know you have a love for the business, you're willing to perform at VFWs and bingo halls, but you got that. We all got that goal. We all want to be on that big stage. We all want to be on Raw. We all want to be on SmackDown. We all want to be on Mania. You know, the those workers that are on NXT, they're doing a great job. They're having they're doing phenomenal shows, have phenomenal matches, but they still have that goal. They still have that dream of making it up to the main event of being on
being on the
Mania, being
flagship.
on Raw, of being the guy, you know,
Mhm.
Right.
and it I think that what has happened, and I think that it is a misdirection of NXT and of the main roster and how the whole program works, is, and I think there is a correction that's being done in this. I'm going to make sure it's clear. So there have been several times where we've seen, these big WWE names go down to NXT, and maybe they have a match with so and so, Becky Lynch. I mean, they're actually paying off the Becky Lynch loss. That's kind of cool. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Dominic Mysterio went down, beat, and then this is kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, Dominic go down, and he instantly beat one of their champions and carried a title for a while. Um, when you have Carmelo Hayes come up to the main roster, he was a NXT champion, and he gets up to the main roster, and now it's very much showing you're a big fish in a small pond, as
It's
opposed to
presentation.
taking these guys and going, okay, you were a top level superstar over on NXT. Now I just expect you to be a top level superstar over on Raw. Like
Yeah.
that.
I
And I'm not. Oh, go ahead, Evan.
uh so yeah, I agree with that. I think also there's a difference. So when you're in NXT and when you're at the performance center, there's always coaches around. You're always getting feedback. And on the main roster, you might get feedback, but there is an expectation of you being able to carry yourself. just like in a professional setting, a work setting. Here's what you do. Here's what you're supposed to do. It's different when you're getting training than when training wheels are off and you're on your own. I definitely agree with you. I think there is a fundamental course correction that is being made, and I think these type of cuts are probably part of that. So it's really interesting to watch these happen. Interestingly enough, we also had some returns, kind of, and new faces come back to the WWE family with AAA's acquisition by WWE. Alberto Del Rio has signed with WWE.
I swear to God, if
oh,
no, I'm. If this does not mean the return of Ricardo Rodriguez, I am going to be fucking pissed. Okay, I'm just going to say that right now. I'm down with Alberto El Patron Rodriguez Escobar, whatever you want to call him. I don't care. But the best part of that act was Ricardo Rodriguez. I don't care what anyone says. All I want is the manager back. Bring back Ricardo Rodriguez, and Alberto
So
can have a freaking job. That's fine.
there's been an interesting reaction to this, given all the things that transpired between Alberto Del Rio and WWE. Alberto's, you know, issues when it comes to drug use, allegedly, and how to delicately say this,
the accusations against him involving
abuse,
Paige.
the abuse
Yeah.
allegations. Recently, he threw a chair at a fan in Mexico, and I've been
But
watching
that was
some of the
like a month
reaction.
ago. That wasn't even
Yeah, a
that
month or
long
two.
ago. It was like a month ago.
Yeah, he's not even allowed to wrestle in I forget where they were at.
Mexico.
He's like banned from wrestling from there. So like, it's interesting to me to watch. It'll be interesting to watch how they try to rehab his image now that he's back under the umbrella. To me this says, okay, well, if Alberto can come back, then we probably will see Brock Lesnar again at some point. Given everything that's
Okay,
going
look,
on, and maybe we'll even see Vince.
okay.
Like,
Call me a hold on. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just going to point this out, okay? Alberto Del Rio is back. Rusev is back. You know what faction they're putting back together. Like
no,
Sheamus isn't doing anything.
Oh, you talking about that?
Wade Barrett can be a mouthpiece.
the League of Nations.
Yeah, the League of Nations.
Speaking of Rusev, before we go back down the AAA tangent, am I
I
the only one
love.
that was very, very unimpressed by Rusev's return and Aleister Black's
Happy
return?
I'll say this: I wasn't a. Rusev's return to me was a little flat, but I loved the
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 promo was
look.
great.
I love the
The look of
look,
the promo,
and,
yeah.
like he looks like he's a lot slender and a lot more muscular. Like the attitude is a little more there than it was in the past to me. I think, but I think the return just fell flat. I think they could have done a spot better than what they did.
Yeah, and having him feud with a jobber tag team.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would have personally targeted like the Intercontinental Champion or the U.S. Champion out the
well,
gate.
I would have gone. I mean, personally, I would have gone right back into Rusev Day, hardcore.
Oh, that yeah, absolutely.
Um, so like
I think
the
that's
Rusev Day gimmick was extremely over, and I think that would be the beginning of the presentation that I would give. I think a really cool way to do it would have been to, you got so and so, somebody neutral out in the ring, and you know, talking, and all of a sudden, boom, it's Rusev Day. Music hits, comes out, everyone's going nuts, and then Rusev just smashes the crap out of the guy in the ring, picks up the ring, the music stops, and he goes, Rusev Day is over. And just turns it on its head right there.
Yeah.
I could have seen that. I could have got behind that.
Because I don't need a specific wrestler that Rusev is going after and feuding with right now on that return. It doesn't need to be that kind of return for Rusev. I need Rusev to come back and have that impact and give me that, oh shit, he's here for business kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, the promo he cut, that's how the vibe I got there. The promo was great.
Yes.
I was a big fan
The
of
promo was
the
good.
Redeemer when he was TNT champion in AEW, and the Redeemer arc that he was on. The promos he was cutting was really great, and I think that's what they're going for now, with a slightly more
I
like
actually
serious tone.
I think there could actually be a really good Rusev Cody Rhodes program that's built
Well,
off of this.
that's what I was thinking. Have Rusev continue to like destroy some like mid card faces, have some
Mm-hmm.
matches with him, but when Cody comes back to feud with Cena at some point, if Cody gets the title back, perfect heel right out the gate, a monster heel and a good way to present Rusev. Have him target a guy who he beat in AEW. Like,
I'd like to see Rusev, and this might be too soon, but I wouldn't mind seeing Rusev and Braun.
Well, you won't be seeing that anytime soon because he got released.
Breaker?
Not Braun Strowman, Braun Breaker.
Oh, that Braun. Maybe that's why they released Strowman. Maybe you can't have too much Braun on the roster. Maybe like Triple H went into the locker. Triple H went into the locker room. He's like, Braun, come see me. And Strowman came in instead of Breaker. He's like, you're the wrong Braun. You're not the one I wanted.
See, to me, this seems like a missed opportunity. This seems like a missed marketing opportunity to bring two Brawns together to pair them up as the Brawny Bros, and have Brawny be the sponsor for their tag team, and even get their Brawny. They have mustaches.
I don't understand. Yeah, I know. I don't understand why Braun Strowman or Braun Breaker or both are not doing marketing for Brawny. They're brawny men. Absolutely, 100%. Like that, I would make that call on a daily basis. Be like, have you decided that you want to, actually have a brawny man?
Speaking of brawny men, a word from our sponsors.
Only a reptile supplement endorsed by retired wrestling legend Chris Chaos, the man who brought you mayhem to the ring and assless chaos to the world.
For those of you who aren't in the know,
I'm glad you endorsed that product, buddy. You're not just a president. You're a user.
Yeah, I'm glad you've come to terms with your performance enhancing.
It's not illegal.
It should be. And a little bit of good news before we proceed with more AAA stuff. I'm currently in discussions with a company I know we have our joke sponsors that we have, but we are in discussions with an actual company, gaming supply company, to hopefully start featuring them as a sponsor / an affiliate. So hopefully we'll have some codes that you guys can use, and then that'll help us fund the podcast. And when you buy products from them, you'll support us, you'll support them. I have some of their products; they're really, really great. I'll be happy to talk about that once we have something officially done. But yeah,
anybody I know?
About that. I know we're not going to talk about that on the air until an actual thing. We're not going to. No spoilers on this one.
Hey, you can't blame a guy for trying.
I'll send you some pictures of what I have from them later.
It is a very exciting time for the podcast. So
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
You know what else is awesome? the fact that La Parka is back in WWE.
Is this La Parka the third now? This is La Parka the
I
third,
believe
though,
it
right?
is. I believe it is.
Because
So
La
La
Parka
Parka
2
from
died.
WCW. I believe this is his son.
Yeah. La Parka is back in WWE. La Hedra, which, by the way, I know Booker T's been going crazy about Stephanie Becker down in NXT. You send him down to NXT Mexico with Lady Flamera, Lady Marbella, and like La Hedra and all those. Oof. You thought the noises Booker was making there.
I got a brother who's infatuated with Stephanie Becker.
Hey,
And I know
right
this
there
is the
too.
third week in a row. I know this is the third week in a row that I'm saying it, but please, please, please give me El Generico again. All I want is one more El Generico run. Please, please.
Have El Grande Americano interfere with him and Seth, and then start NXT Mexico off with El Generico versus American Made with El Grande Americano. I pitched this before Mania. I'm pitching it now.
I got a question about that. How long do you think this El Grande Americana is going to go before it's revealed it's Chad Gable? Like, let's be
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, whoa. Here
Spoilers.
on the Standards of Greatness podcast, we don't jump to any conclusions. Okay?
We have
We're
no
not just
definitive
gonna.
evidence.
Yeah, you can't prove that that's Chad Gable. As a matter of
Okay,
fact, there's
I believe
photographic
I believe
photographic
it
evidence
is.
of Chad Gable, not being.
And I believe in Joe Hendry.
Hey, I
Uh,
admit he took a hell of an RKO.
that we'll get into that in a minute. But to finish up the AAA thing, so the reactions I've been seeing on social media, down in the Mexican wrestling community down in on TikTok and on YouTube has been talking about how this whole WWE purchasing AAA thing doesn't actually make sense. It's kind of a gentrification of the lucha style. They've all basically been told they have to learn English and perform the American way, and so I think we're going to see this be kind of an interesting expansion. I think it's going to offer a new audience for a lot of the American wrestlers. I don't think it'll be AAA as we knew it. I think they were having a lot of financial hardships from what I was told and what I've seen and what I've read. This is a strictly monetary business decision. And I think it was also a giant fuck you to Tony Khan
Now,
because he was partnering with them for a while.
I do have a question about that because last I heard, and it's been a while since I've read anything about AAA, but last I knew Conan was a part of AAA as far as. So is he going to be? Is it?
I would be having Conan as. I don't think I would have him be the lead creative there. I would have him probably be a point person and have him be an on-screen manager. I personally think if you're going to do it, you got TNA already in the fold. Let's get an LAX reunion going. Like Conan was the OG.
Oh, I'm not wrong. I think honestly, what would be a really good start point, maybe it's I'm out of touch with what's going on now because I have missed a lot, is bring back the fucking cruiserweight.
I mean, that would be a good opportunity, but like,
That would be like let AAA and let the luchadors like showcase. Like I loved the cruiserweight and the luchadors back when we had the Monday Night Wars with WCW versus WWE. I love the cruiserweights.
yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity. It's just, I think it's going to be an adjustment.
I definitely think there is some opportunity for that, especially with you still got Rey Mysterio wrestling. Chad Gable is Chad Gable is the kind of guy who could carry that division. Because you still need. The thing is, you go back to WCW and you look at the cruiserweight division and you go, well, why was the cruiserweight division successful? A big part of it was the physical ability of the wrestlers, but there was a big part of it that was actually carried on the back of Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho and
And
Dean
Dean
Malenko.
Malenko.
Like,
And
and what do all three of those guys have in common? Oh, well, they were the three guys who were able to talk on the mic. Like, they were the only three guys that were able to talk on the
yeah,
mic. You notice when the cruiserweight division got narrowed down to Juventud Guerrera and Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman, like, all of a sudden, we weren't doing interviews with the cruiserweight champion anymore because none of those guys could talk. Hoobie thought he could talk, but he was just trying to rip off the Rock's gimmick. So
I had forgotten about that.
that was bad.
Um,
Juicy.
yeah, I'll be very interested to see how AAA does, or how WWE handles the AAA product. I'll be interested to see how Rusev is presented. Aleister Black, at least they're having him feud with a former WWE champion, albeit they're kind of semi-competitive squash matches. That said, I fully expect Aleister Black to eventually be probably the U.S. champion. He might be a good face to take on Jacob Fatu or to take on one of the other heels once they get it. Um,
I mean, I'm still going to maintain that I don't think Jacob Fatu loses that belt unless it's a screw job kind of thing, like if
well,
screwed
I
over
think
by
this.
Solo or whatever.
I,
Like you,
I
I don't think there is anyone in the mid card right now who I would
should.
want to see cleanly beat Jacob Fatu. The man is on a tear. He's the next big thing. He's
Well,
the
and the only
future.
one that would make any sense would be Drew McIntyre, and I just don't think it's the right time to have that happen yet.
No, I know. Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu. That is a WrestleMania main event, brother. Like I legit,
Mhm.
I would, I would pay money to see that. Hell yeah!
Well, and
Like that's
I think this fatal four way presents an interesting opportunity to, if they wanted to get the belt off of Jacob Fatu, to not have the added pressure there. I think that having Solo screw him over out of that, and it seems like that's the storyline they're going with. It would make sense to then put the belt on Drew, continue, have Drew pick up the belt, do the Bloodline Hunter thing. Solo and Jacob can kind of feud for a little bit because
I
Drew's
mean,
kind of Drew
I
post
just
CM Punk
I
has
don't
been
want
great,
I don't
but like
want this soon though. I don't want it
I
this
don't either.
soon.
I want it.
I think
I don't want it
I
this
mean
soon either, but I
I
think
would
it's coming.
honestly rather it be where I think it'd be more interesting for Solo to be the reason, like to very clearly be in the corner of Jacob to help Jacob win, to do that several times over, and then Solo starts saying that he's the reason that Jacob is the United States champion. He's the one who's put in all the work. Jacob is carrying his belt. You know what I mean? I think that'd be a much more interesting way to break it
Well, I
between
think they've
them.
kind of started that with that recent promo where it was, or that one promo where Solo was going on a kick about how Jacob wouldn't be in WWE without him. He wouldn't be where he is without him. I think they've already planted that seed based on that.
Yes, and that's a better branch to go out on, because if you were gonna just have them instant break, then you should have done it already. Now I need a longer build up. Now I need you to give me more to the story to rebuild it between them to break it again.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I think that looking at the Fatal Four Way, I think this is where they start telling that story. Like Solo helps Jacob win, and then it becomes a frustrating point where they tease tension, and then SummerSlam, I think we get Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title.
If we don't get it at
Well,
SummerSlam, I'd say we get it at Survivor Series.
it is about that time. And we do have a pay per view coming up this weekend. Evan, let's bust out that point sheet, man. Let's make some
All right.
predictions. It's time. It's time. Oh, it's Brian time.
You need to be able to. So right now we're talking WrestleMania or WWE Backlash predictions. As the defending predictions champion, and we're doing 1 point per win or 1 point per correct selection, and then I don't. Daniel's not on the podcast. Why are you doing micro penises?
I don't know. It's for Chris. He hasn't taken
Man,
his
explains the
enforced
horse
treat.
So, as it stands right now, we have 5 matches that have been previewed that we know for sure are happening on the Backlash card, which Backlash is this Saturday, the 10th. So we have
There is
Dominic.
there is a chance that it will only be 5 matches. Triple H does like a smaller number of matches on the card, so
Yeah,
I
mean,
think
that's fine.
I think we're going to go up to 6. I think we'll end up getting a 6.
Yeah, I think we'll have a
I think we're gonna.
I think we'll have we'll have probably the women's title probably on here. So we've got Dominic Mysterio defending the IC title versus Penta. I don't see a reason for them to change the championship. I think it'd be too soon in the story to do that. I think Dominic Mysterio wins. Probably with the help of Judgment Day.
I'm gonna 100% agree with you. I think Dominic Mysterio. This is just the beginning of the IC title run. I do think that at some point here, we're gonna see the appearance of Finn Balor, and he will be involved out there. But I don't think it's time for Dom to lose the title yet. I agree with you. We're in sync
too
so
soon.
far.
So we have the same prediction, and then we will come up with a tiebreaker system.
I agree with you guys. I think it's definitely way too soon. I don't see.
Chris,
Penta's not been.
you're doing all predictions. Whatever Chris predicts, they go on. They go on for the marks predictions. Daniel has to
that'll be
live
some.
whatever Chris predicts.
But to me, it's
Okay,
just
so
it is too soon in the story. I think Dominic's going to hold that title for a good hot minute.
yeah, since Daniel probably fell asleep, albeit
Yeah.
it's like 4 a.m. his time. Yeah, that makes sense. So we've all picked the same thing. Next up, we've got the Fatal 4-Way. As I've already discussed, I think Jacob Fatu is going to retain here. I think with the help of Solo Sikoa.
Yep, 100% agree again. For pretty much the same reason. As we kind of already, as I already said, like I don't think the interesting move right now is to have Jacob Fatu lose the title. It's much more interesting, convincing, and long term for Jacob to hold the title. That being said, this would be a good tiebreaker. And I think that because we're both picking Jacob Fatu, we've got a good field here. I think maybe you and I both pick a secondary as
Okay.
if we're both wrong about this. So I'll go ahead and give mine first.
Okay.
Should Jacob Fatu lose the title, I think the man who would walk away with it would be LA Knight.
I'm picking Drew McIntyre. So
Okay.
I'm in agreement with you guys as far as the title going. It would be. I think if Jacob Fatu drops the title, I think you really kind of wasted his WrestleMania moment, if you will, in doing that. You tarnish it a little bit. But
it was the
I'm
second best match in all of Mania card.
yeah,
Weekend.
and
that's why
I'm
I
gonna-
went with LA Knight. Honestly, is because if it's going to be anyone besides Jacob, LA Knight, he's on trajectory of his own. They already had a classic, and I could see them being like, okay, we're going to do this as a back and forth rivalry potentially, but it's not what I want.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you there, Brian, but I'm gonna go different. Was it Damian Priest is the other one?
Yep.
I'm gonna
Yep.
go. I'm gonna go. Left field, and I'm gonna go. If anybody other than Jacob Fatu wins it, it's gonna be Damian Priest.
I love it. You all
That gives
pick
us a
somebody
nice,
different.
clean, different. And honestly, there's a chance where it could come down to the tiebreaker. There is a legit chance.
Yep.
So we've got Lyra Valkyrie defending the Women's Intercontinental Championship versus Becky Lynch. I'm gonna let you guys go first.
I'm gonna say Becky Lynch is walking away with the title here. I don't think that there's a point in turning Becky heel and then to not have her follow up on the threat uh, and be and capture the title, be a dominant champion, bring some prestige to the belt. If Lyra, maybe comes back in 6 months and then takes it back from Becky after a savage beating, then so be it. That's fun storytelling. But we're at the beginning of the story. I always vote for the heels at the beginning of stories. My vote, Becky Lynch.
I'm gonna go the same with you, but for a different reason because WWE did kind of. I don't know if they intentionally did it when they thought, if it was a thought when they did it, but now that they created these women's mid card titles, you now have an opportunity to have a true female Triple Crown winner, and Becky would be the first. And I think that would be like another stack on her resume of like that man standard she had when she was being the man, like another like notch in her belt to that, being the first woman to be a Triple Crown winner.
Yeah. I think Becky's also walking away with it, but I think we're gonna get a shocking twist. I think Bailey's gonna help Becky. I think we're gonna see a mini Four Horsewomen revival happen on the mid card for the women's title scene. I think that would help bolster that division, that part of the division, and I think it would make perfect sense given the story they're telling.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be kind of cool.
If it's me, if I'm booking it, I have Becky and Bailey deliver I bust Lyra open a little bit, a nice simple bleed. I have her bleed a little bit on the pay-per-view, build the sympathy, injure her, write her off for 6 months. She got a hell of a promo this last week. She sold me as finally being able to believe she's the Intercontinental Champion. It's a little too late. I don't see her walking away unless Bailey is, helping somehow. And there's a DQ, you could continue it. But to me, you don't bring Becky Lynch back, have them win the tag belts at Mania, lose the tag belts the next night, and then to not win. That makes zero sense.
Yeah.
So we've got Jey Uso versus Logan Paul.
I go first.
Well, definitely Logan Paul's going over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Jey Uso is going over, and I just I'm not a fan of Logan Paul. I actually got into a conversation with one of my bros about this because he's a fan of Logan Paul, and we had the argument over how, being famous, how wrestlers got famous and got into the business and stuff, and Logan made his name from YouTube, and he's a YouTube star who's doing this, and I'm not taking away his heart in doing it, but he's nowhere near, I think, ready for that mountaintop. Like, cool, like a mid card title, tag title, he can have all day.
I don't want him wrestling for it.
This title, no. And Jey Uso just winning it at Mania, I would hate wrestling all over again if they made Logan Paul the champ.
Way too soon. I gotta agree. Like, there's no way Jay's losing the title, not to Logan frickin' Paul. I'm actually kind of disappointed they didn't give Jay a better challenger as his first title defense. I think that him can have a good physical match. They can both do some cool aerial spots together. I think their styles will blend good together. But just as far as like a realistic challenger, I don't think that Logan Paul is a realistic challenger at all.
I will say this real quick though. I wouldn't be shocked if it ended in a DQ with Gunther coming back and not coming back, but interfering.
Well, Gunther has a match on the card because I miscounted. There's 6 matches on the card. Gunther's facing Pat McAfee, which we'll have to do a prediction in a minute.
Oh yeah, we gotta do that one.
Steiner match.
I agree. I think Jey Uso is going to retain. I think I actually disagree with you. I think Logan Paul is a perfect heel for this situation because nobody's going to cheer him. They need people to cheer Jay to get behind the title reign to help build this up. It's a softball. It's a softball one. They're going to have good chemistry. They've been cutting good promos. Like, they've been doing good work there. I don't want to see Logan Paul actually wrestle to win the title, like in an actual like one-on-one match. I want Logan Paul to win Money in the Bank, cash it in, and then win the title that way. That's how I would prefer he become World Heavyweight Champion. His whole thing is about being the Hollywood, spoiled rich kid YouTuber thing. Fucking lean into it. The entitlement with winning the Money in the Bank and then cashing it in and then like being a dickhead. You got me sold there.
All right,
I don't think
who
I got
are
Jay
you
winning.
picking? Logan Paul? Okay,
No.
just have to make
No,
sure.
God, no. No, I want to win the predictions. I don't want to pull a Daniel.
All right. Well, you said Pat McAfee one. You're supposed to do the Pat McAfee.
I'm just gonna say Gunther here. I think Gunther beats Patton senselessly. I think this is all to set up Goldberg's retirement match at SummerSlam versus Gunther.
I agree with you that on this being a match to set up Goldberg's retirement match. However, this is going to be where the rubber hits the road, brother. I'm putting Pat McAfee as the winner. I think Goldberg comes back, lays out Gunther, Pat gets the win, and that's the driving force that makes Gunther want to fight Goldberg.
See, I read somewhere, I guess maybe it was just humor about Steiner being in Pat's corner. It was a joke. Scott Steiner being in.
No, Steiner offered to be in his corner, and yeah.
See, I missed last week's wrestling, so I haven't heard or seen it. I plan on catching up on last week and this week, today and tomorrow, but I didn't know anything about the Goldberg stuff. I was thinking
like a year ago.
I was thinking my thinking was I could see Gunther winning, but I got to go with Brian on Rubber Meets the Road. I think if Steiner is in his corner, I think Pat wins because Steiner interferes.
Steiner's too old to bump.
If Steiner's not in his corner, Gunther wins. If Steiner's in his corner, Pat wins.
Yeah. You have me convinced on that being a more compelling story. I'm still sticking with my pick. I don't think they can afford to have Gunther take an L to Pat. I could see it being a DQ finish.
I'm not. Keep in mind, I'm not calling it clean. I'm saying referee, like Gunther takes out the referee. Goldberg comes in, spear, jackhammer, tosses Pat on top. Yeah, like I don't.
If that's how I lose my title.
Kind of like what old boy did to Umaga. What's his name? I can't think of his name. He's part of Hurt Business, but he did it to Umaga and helped Santino win the Intercontinental title. Bobby Lashley, thank you.
So yeah, I think that would be a really exciting finish to that match. I don't think I don't think Gunther losing in that way.
That's a good way to protect him. Yeah, I think if Pat beat him clean, then Gunther's cooked at that point.
Pat no zero chance in hell Pat is winning this clean. But
zero. There's a negative % chance that he wins this clean.
If you're Pat okay, think about this. Think about this like logically, like it's all real. Okay, you're Pat McAfee. You're going in there knowing that like the guy you're fighting has just been world champion for the better part of the year. Like you've watched him smash through guy after guy after guy. You literally just watched him bloody the shit out of Jimmy Uso.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to fight him. All right. If I'm like, I want to fight him, it means I want to fight him because I have a plan. Like I've already got.
Yeah,
I want to fight him with a
honestly,
gun.
I'm a little jealous. I didn't think of that. Having Goldberg cost Gunther the match.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying, because that the other part of this is like Gunther choked him the fuck out after like he fucking went off on him and Michael Cole and shit. Pat McAfee, he's defending Cole, like and the bit and the announcers and the guys who don't wrestle, like he's standing up for the little guy. So like to me, like if I'm Pat McAfee, yeah, I'm in agreement with Brian on that one. I want to fight Gunther, who was just world champion for like 354 days or some shit like that. Like, I've got a plan. I've got something lined up because this isn't a regular match.
Yeah, no, I think what Brian said is probably going to happen. The more I think about it now, I'm still sticking with my answer because I gave it. But yeah, the more I think about it, that Brian's answer makes the most sense. And then finally, the main event: John Cena retirement tour continues. You're live from St. Louis. John Cena versus Randy Orton one last time. We're all picking John Cena here. I think John
There's no way
Cena's
Ricky's gonna-
I think John Cena's going to slap the shit out of the referee and get DQ'd.
I don't, but
Wait,
I hear.
hold on. Wait. Pause. If John Cena slaps the referee and gets DQ'd, Randy wins.
I guess that's true.
He just doesn't win the title. So,
I think
are
John Cena
you
retains.
going? Are you? I'm picking John Cena to retain the title. I think that's a very fair statement to make.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
think
want
John
to?
Cena
Do you want to
retains.
try? If you want a bonus point opportunity here, though, to call the finish as John Cena smacks the referee,
Yeah, I'm calling that as a bonus point.
I will give you this as a bonus opportunity. But I also get a bonus point for Goldberg returning. I think that's fair. I'm calling an outside person like ahead of time.
I think we both called Goldberg on that one, but I'm open to that.
See, here's the thing. I think that happens, but I don't think it happens the way it did when Orton did it. I don't think it happens at the beginning of the match. I think they have a good match going in, and Cena gets to the point where he starts questioning, like, could he lose the title, and then does it. I don't think it happens at the opening bell.
Yeah. It
I'd
depends
say
on how much
Travis
time
Scott comes in, takes an RKO.
smacks the shit out of Randy Orton, busts his eardrum.
Busts his eardrum. A black eye.
So, yeah, I think I'm of the opinion that it's happening. It's John Cena does it out of frustration. He's not just going to do it right from the opening bell like Orton did. If there's not very much time left in the show, though, maybe we do see that. It kind of depends on how much time's left in the show. There's no way John.
Interesting. It's an interesting way to have an easy out at any point in the show, and give yourself that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think Cena's not dropping that belt until it's probably.
No, absolutely not.
And
I'm kind of hoping, honestly. I'm kind of hoping because of when he was on that when he was sitting at that table and they were having the conversation. He was talking about going home. He's all about going home with that title. He keeps referencing WWE having to make a new belt and whatnot. I'm kind of hoping that, honestly, Cena goes home with it and WWE creates a new belt, because I think that'd be a really cool kind of cherry on top of everything.
The Nugget is alive. Sorry, Dan. You have to live with Chris's picks for your opportunity.
Yep, Chris made all your picks for you. All your Backlash picks were made for you. He picked Randy Orton to win. He picked Pat McAfee to win clean. He picked Jacob Fatu to lay down for Damian Priest.
He picked
I picked Becky to lose.
I mean, I'll take those picks.
As if you had a choice.
No, he picked good picks for you. He picked good picks for you.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, Backlash almost feels kind of rushed in terms of finish because we're like what 2 weeks, 3 weeks from WrestleMania.
Well, I don't. We had such a long build up for WrestleMania. It was put so late in the month of April, and now to have Backlash so early in May, like it really is. It really does feel like these are back to back pay per views. I wish we had another. I'd be down for 2 more weeks, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it feels very rushed to me. I don't think it's. I think this show is only going to sell out primarily because it's the John Cena retirement tour. There's not a whole lot else here on this show that would make me want to go to it outside of that.
No, I am going to say this though. There's one aspect of the current WWE product in terms of like high level, like main event kind of stuff that we haven't talked about at all for Backlash, and that feels really off. And that is the new stable with Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, and Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I haven't watched any Raw tonight, but
yeah, all I've seen was I did see some of the Crash Out promo of Paul Heyman, and that, by the way, if I can't wait to go and watch that after this is over because Paul Heyman, just in that little snippet that I saw on YouTube, was giving more reason for his turn and his decision to do what he did at WrestleMania than we got through the entire build from John Cena. Between him and Cody Rhodes. Yeah. So I'm all about it.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that same snippet. That was emotional jet fuel right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their plan is with them. It would be weird to build this up and then not have them at Backlash in some capacity. Maybe have them bust open, they attack Jey Uso after his match with Logan Paul.
My question for you guys, honestly, who's the third member?
Wow.
Well, there's a lot of reports going around right now that they actually don't want to add a third member right away. They want to keep it small and do this as a slow burn. And
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, I'm not saying they need to rush it, but like at some point there will be a third. And like I was just wondering who you think there will be.
Well, actually, I disagree with there being a third. I think you make I think that the way that you do it, if you're going to do it correctly, is you do a third and fourth, both at the same time. You clearly already have Seth Rollins geared to be your main eventer. You have Braun Breaker as a very capable high mid carder. Now, what you need is you need your tag team. Like I could understand if there's been some about Becky Lynch joining the squad, and I could understand that because that does basically what I'm saying is everyone that you add to this stable needs to fill a role. Yeah. And like if you add Becky Lynch, then at least I understand because she carries the women's division on her back. At least that's how I would market it. But I don't think that works out with her grabbing the mid card title. You know what I mean? Like it would make more sense if Rhea Ripley turned heel and joined them, or if they got Naomi to come and join them, and then Naomi was going back after the title, or something like that. That would make more sense rather than going after the girl who's going after the mid card belt, the women's mid card title. That makes less sense because you want to be dominant over the entire division, and that's the perception that you want to give. Paul Heyman went out and got Seth Rollins before he went out and got Braun Breaker. I think that's real clear because you're going to get your main eventer, you're going to get your top guy before you get your secondary guy. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
gotta if you're gonna you're talking about filling roles, I think a tag team and re-emphasizing the importance of the tag team division is the best way to go. And then honestly, you can turn around and have them feud with another group. So if I was to pick two guys right now to be the two guys that I add to the new Heyman stable, it would be I would poach from Judgment Day. I'd get Finn. I'd bring Finn over, and I don't know. The second one, whether you keep your established tag team, or you switch over to Carlito, I could make arguments for both ways.
Yeah, I could see that.
I've read reports of Austin people thinking Austin Theory.
Yeah, I've seen reports of people saying Fury and Waller being the tag team, which could make sense, but they can kind of talk, so they don't.
I feel like it should
They
be
can all talk. Seth can talk. Braun can even talk.
Yeah, I guess that's true. See,
By the
I
way,
think
did you guys catch Braun doing the Steiner Math promo prior to WrestleMania? Did you guys
Yeah.
catch that
yeah,
one?
it was great.
Yeah, I loved it.
The moment he cut that promo, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely losing.
I mean, it's weird. He acts more like his uncle than his dad, which is really weird.
He sounds like his uncle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's the like. I watched WrestleMania. I even told the guy the watch party I was at. Like Breaker is a combination. Now, granted, yeah, there's more to of his uncle than his dad, but he is every bit his dad and his uncle. Like he has meshed the two.
I
Yeah.
mean, all we need now is for him to have a feud with like a horror doll like Chucky or something, or Megan.
I look forward to seeing Braun become a world champion. I honestly do.
I think this is going to be shades of a bit of smattering of storytelling, of evolution, of Dangerous Alliance. I think
Yep.
there's going to be mixes of elements of all those storylines. I think the tag team that would make the most sense, New Day.
Yeah.
Give
See
them
that?
prominence in a way that where it won't be a can Kofi win the world title? Can Xavier make them the actual tag team? They're a veteran tag team, so they fit that Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton kind of mold that they had in the Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah. Well,
I think they make perfect sense.
another thing that I've also just kind of noticed is have you noticed they're staying real close to the bloodline still with this storyline? Like you last week it was Sami Zayn. This week you're coming out and you're talking with Jey Uso. Like it's
I don't think we're done with this.
Clearly, yeah. Clearly there's meant to be very strong beats connecting to the entire bloodline arc.
Well, when you hear
And,
when you hear Heyman's actual promo, when he talks to Jay, like those heartbeats you're referring to are very prominent.
Well, and I think this is all leading up to it. I think we're going to get an 8-man tag at War Games between these two factions.
I mean,
I think we're going to get
more games this year, though.
Yeah, they are Survivor Series. It's been the last couple of years they've been doing it.
Yeah, but scrap it. Like, apparently they're not going to do it.
Why? Why? That makes no sense.
I know.
They just started doing it. That's dumb.
It's an incredibly good marketing tool, and it gets a lot of guys onto the show in a featured way. Honestly, War Games was the refresher that Survivor Series needed, and
absolutely.
Survivor Series is stale.
I mean,
Survivor Series is stale.
Yeah, this isn't the 80s and 90s and early 2000s where it was you had a captain of a team and he picks his other three teammates and it's what team wins. This is War Games is
It's a story.
it's
Although
a story, and
I would
it's that role,
down.
but it's on steroids now.
I would still totally be down for that though. Like I actually would love if it was a honest annual thing where Raw versus SmackDown, picking out of the Raw, clean if we actually had a clean break between the rosters, and an honest, 5-on-5
I would do a
match as an
PLE
annual thing. I think
bragging
that would be a lot
rights.
of fun.
Well,
Well, no,
right out
I get
post draft.
but you do bragging rights, that's the entire show. I'm not trying to base the entire show around that because then the whole build up is like, oh, the SmackDown stars are inventing Raw, and the Raw stars are inventing SmackDown. They're all doing it
See,
in colored T-shirts. That stuff just always annoyed the shit out of me. Like,
I actually kind of liked it. Like, I liked the intensity, the carrying the flag for your brand. Like, I think it was an interesting dynamic.
I would say
But
that
to
the
get back
first like
to circle,
like 2 or 3 were good, and then it just like it started getting very boring.
Well, see, I would literally do it.
guys. I hate to cut you off, but you guys both just did it to my boy Evan. Evan, go ahead with your point, man. I know you're trying to make it.
that I've tried 3 times now. Thank you. So my thought process on this, I think we're getting War Games. I think we're getting CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Roman Reigns versus Seth and his faction. I think that's why they're still keeping it close to the bloodline. I still think this is all going to lead into Mania for this year. I think this is a very long, as they've proven with the bloodline thing, it's a very long and drawn out thing. This is Roman Reigns. During this will see Roman acknowledging Jey for who he's become, and this is the start of Roman's redemption.
Daniel.
I was gonna say, like, I think the problem with that is we've kind of already seen that kind of War Games thing. I think I do believe we're gonna get Roman's redemption, but I think in order to get to that point, I think we will eventually have to tackle the point that the family needs to come together again, like the full family, not just the original bloodline. And the reason I think it's like we'll eventually have Solo coming back to Roman, maybe Tama and Tonga, and Tonga Loa will join them.
It's too many people.
Maybe I just feel like there's definitely more potential for it to be a bigger War Games than it was previously.
What they've managed to do with War Games now, though, and it's really cool, and especially if Evan's right, and we're going to get another iteration, another Bloodline team versus another team at War Games this year. I don't think you're understanding this, Daniel. Maybe it's because you're very young, but I know Chris is going to identify when I say this. It's just like the original War Games. Back in the day, it wasn't the Bloodline that was always that team that you could guarantee was going to show up. It was the Horsemen.
Yeah.
They're creating a whole new type of Horsemen, and that's what we're getting in the War Games matches. That's why every single one it's felt fresh, it's felt innovative, but it still feels like you're watching part of like a trilogy or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as Heyman said, they were when last year's Mania at Cody, they're only in the 3rd inning. I think this will be the first time the Bloodline would be a babyface in the War Games match. And I think Sami Zayn might be the turncoat that turns on them and finally joins Seth. To flip the dichotomy of the last one.
I mean,
kicking Roman right in the balls.
I could see that. I'm going to disagree with Daniel though. Is here's the thing, Daniel. With this is you mentioned Solo and Tama Tonga, like they've already shown us that there's something between those two. That there's going to be something in the future between those two, and the fact of the War Games being CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Roman using that narrative. Sammy's being on screen and Honore Uso, like he is like best friends with that blood with the actual bloodline.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
they are really close. They are family, and so I totally could see that being versus Seth's faction, and I hate to admit it because I dig Sammy as a face, and they reel me in with the fact that Sammy could be the next Yes movement at times, like that kind of like Daniel Bryan when he had the Yes movement, because people get behind him, and like he's made it clear that that's still a goal, is to be a world champion in WWE. But I could see, I could very easily see him turning heel, polarizing last year, and whatnot. But I missed. When we were talking about the traditional 5-on-5, I'd open both rosters. I'd have two captains, and they could pick from both rosters. You could mix and match like Raw and SmackDown, and have as an example, Damian Priest is a captain, and he picks flipping Drew McIntyre, or he picks Tama Tonga, or whoever, and you have a traditional 5-on-5.
If I'm going to pick captain for this year, the one I would want to pick is John Cena. I think it'd be really interesting to have
I think
John
Cena versus Cody is the captains,
Yeah, I could see. Absolutely.
or Cena versus Punk as captains could work too.
I mean, unless The Rock turns up, he needs to sell more pay-per-views.
Now,
I think that this whole podcast has been nice because we haven't talked about The Rock at all, and it's been a really enjoyable podcast tonight.
Time speaking on him last week. I'm at the point with him. I don't want to talk about him, and he unless it's relevant and he's actually on TV, I'll talk about it then. But if he shows up, and same thing with Mania next year, my reaction from now on when Dwayne shows up on my TV is turning it off. That's going to be my legit reaction every single time. If he ruins another Mania season, I'm turning the TV off every time he comes on. And I encourage everybody else to do the same.
What if he
That's where
comes
I'm
out
at with
and says, like, oh, the final boss is going to be a part of War?
Don't give a fuck. He's ruined wrestling, and he's ruined his character for me. I don't give a shit about the final boss.
Jesus.
Yeah, he baited everybody so well in the beginning of this, and then for him to just not show up at Mania and give him
not showing up is besides the point. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris. He shit on the business on national TV, not once, not twice, but 3 fucking times within a 1-week period.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I mean, I don't know why you guys are just finally getting on the Screw the Rock train. I mean, I was at WrestleMania 27. I've already had a WrestleMania ruined by The Rock. I knew. This is nothing surprising to me. You guys are about like 14 years late on this one. Like, come on.
I mean, too, I didn't know about
wrong.
The Rock context until obviously this year, because when I watched the last WrestleMania, he was part of it. It was more. He was a good guy. He was a Hollywood guy,
Yes. Yeah, I so thought that this was going to be something like, I know, Brian, Evan, and we talked. We had several conversations of a potential like Hollywood style faction with The Rock, Cena, and a half dozen couple other people we could have picked and thrown in there that would have been something to see. And then it flat. It became so flat, and it ruined that. It just like, I expected him to show up at Mania. Like I made several comments to even my watch party. Like, Rock will be here at some point, probably during the Cena Cody match. Like, I fully expected like him to help Cena. And I was really disappointed. I was really kind of pissed off because it's like, and then I read something about the interview he did where he was like, he made some offhand comments about fans and story arc and shit. And it's like, no, dude, that's a cop out. Like you literally did nothing. You didn't give us any payoff at all to this whole, like, Cena selling his soul to you? Where have you been? What are you doing? Like you,
I
We did a
I just
whole episode on this
imagine
week.
all these people. I just imagine all these people watching WrestleMania and expecting The Rock to show up, and they get to the end of the show, and Willy Wonka just pops on and goes, "You get nothing."
I mean, to be fair, The Rock did say, apparently, like, he, from what I've been told, apparently Cena was meant to turn heel at WrestleMania itself. So, like, kicking the balls, when it was going to come down, that was meant to be the heel turn.
I don't want to rehash this all again.
Yeah, we're
Ladies
done.
and gentlemen,
We're
if you want to
moving on.
hear, if you want to hear all our thoughts about this, please check out last week's episode. And thank you for all of you who did tune into last week's episode. Thank you guys for if you tuned in tonight for tonight's episode.
Exactly.
And we really do appreciate all the engagement that you give us on YouTube, on Facebook. Make sure you leave a like, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave us comments. We answer like every
We
comment.
will respond.
So.
We will answer to comments. We will respond to messages. And then I guess to end it, one last topic. Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and who?
Why are we here again?
That
what
build
year is
it to be trash.
30 years later. Okay, so
he's gonna go bankrupt. We all know it.
So I don't even know a Real American Freestyle Wrestling. So they have Israel Izzy Martinez joining Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff to have an unscripted freestyle wrestling promo, the wrestling league. So where do I begin?
All right, so my understanding about this is actually going to be a league for collegiate freestyle wrestling, which is it's not professional wrestling. It's not done inside a squared circle. We're talking on a mat with pinfalls and points being awarded here. Why Hulk Hogan is getting involved in this, I really don't understand. I actually do have an understanding for why Eric Bischoff would be interested in this. Eric Bischoff has shown a lot. Not only is he a marketing guy, but he's had a lot of interest in hand-to-hand combat, sports announcing, and his son Garrett was really involved in freestyle wrestling. So I understand Eric Bischoff's interest towards, potentially starting a freestyle, program and everything. I guess Hulk Hogan is just there to be a face and a name and a celebrity, but I don't know how much marketability you're actually getting out of Hulk Hogan these days.
I mean, he appeals to Chris's kind of generation.
I just as someone who grew up as a Hulkamaniac, as a fan of Hulk Hogan, and like from the inception of Hulk Hogan. Yeah, exactly. All WrestleMania 1, all and all of that, and what he did for the business. I was just as big of a Hulkamaniac fan as anybody my age that grew up in the Hulkamania fan that was a Hulk Hogan fan. Like I had the weight set, I had all the toys, like all that. And sit here.
Now I'm just picturing little Chris going.
Oh, I will admit it. The whole weight set came with like a workout regime. I was on it 3 times a day. Like I was saying my prayers. I had my parents buy me vitamins. Like I was doing all that. I was trying. Like
I'm gonna tell you right now, he's not lying. I've been to the gym with Chris. It's the most embarrassing thing in the world. He's on the weight machine. I am a real American. It's horrible.
Sitting here now, pushing almost 50, and watching Hogan become what he has become. I want to go back to my childhood and tell my childhood self, find another person, anybody, anybody but this guy, because when you get older, he is going to tarnish this beyond your behind belief, and you are going to be embarrassed about being a Hulkamaniac, as a kid. And it hurts. It hurts because I know what he did for the business. I know what he brought to the business. I'm that guy that grew up as such a Hulkamaniac fan that when he turned and became NWO, I cried like I was at a funeral.
Like, okay, I get they were trying to do the whole like who's the third man kind of thing, reference to the NWO, but legitimately 90%, like no one, literally no one who is going to be competing in this freestyle league is going to remember that promo. Like they're like we're like Daniel Daniel is a really good representation here because like Daniel's kind of the average age for a wrestling fan right now. Daniel didn't see the NWO when it was like actually
Created.
happening.
Yeah.
He back and watched it years later, which cool, good on you, Daniel. I'm not trying to knock you. Understand. I'm trying to say that like just in terms of the the knowledge the average person has, they're not going to correlate that. They're not going to be like, "Oh, you're doing an NWO style promo. How cool." Like I think Eric Bischoff, he's developed really good relationships with a lot of wrestlers and stuff, whether they were in WCW or WWE. Since then, I don't know. I think rather than going to Hulk Hogan, I think I'd be calling up Stone Cold Steve Austin and being like, "Hey, Austin, I've got a marketing opportunity for you. You pretty much just have to stand around."
Well, here's the thing. He would be an option. Brock Lesnar, who is an amateur collegiate wrestler, like that'd be another person.
No, Lesnar is just as tarnished right now as Hogan, if not more so. Like I'm just gonna cut that one right off at the head. Like there's a handful of guys that I can understand you getting involved with. If you said if I'm Eric Bischoff, I'd be looking at Stone Cold and Diamond Dallas Page. Those are my number one and number two. Those are the two that have the best name value with marketability out there right now.
What about Kurt Angle?
Kurt could work. You could do Mark Henry too.
I guess Kurt could work because he has the collegiate history behind him. All right, I'll give you that one, Chris. You get a third gold star. By the way, Daniel, Chris managed to earn himself 3 gold stars on the podcast tonight, and you've been on a lot of podcasts, and you have no gold stars. In the words of the Hurricane, what's up with that?
I'm going for your Mark title. Gonna need you guys to do a promo off in order to see who's the biggest Mark.
All right. I think it's about that time. Evan?
All right. I guess.
Do you have any?
Yeah. Sorry, I just keep getting derailed. So yeah, the Hulk Hogan thing. Hogan's purely there. The whole tease with the NWO promo is to lean on that nostalgia. I think it fails to land completely, like Brian said, because of the age. I'm old enough to remember the NWO. I watched it happen. I watched the turn and everything. I was the little kid who was just like, shit. And like, it kind of appeals to our audience, the millennial Gen Xer audience and older. But like looking at who's signed so far. So let me read you. A former UFC star and Olympian, Ben Askren, who boxed Jake Paul. He signed. Let's see. We got former national champion Zahid Valencia, former Olympian and world champion Kenny Blades. Like, there's no marketability, like mid-level marketability. To me, this seems like more of a small indie promotion to rival TKO and UFC than it does a wrestling thing. And to me, it's a failure because Hogan is so fucking tarnished. There are a million other options you could have gone with. You could have went to a former UFC. You could have went out and gotten Chad Gable. a current collegiate athlete and gotten him involved. Like Izzy Martinez, I'm not really familiar with him, but like I know
You
he's
could
a
do a whole
UFC money
top
guy.
10 list of better choices.
Or
Here's the thing, like,
who's that guy in AEW who had the who was like the UFC guy? He had Paige Zan
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. It's that guy who was part of that team.
Dan something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been great for this. My whole
Dan Severn would be better for this.
Oh
yes, would have been great. Fucking
Steve
Chuck
Blackman?
Liddell.
yeah. Ken Shamrock.
You could have went out and got Conor McGregor, and he's pretty tainted too.
Mhm.
Like,
God, imagine
to
Hogan
me,
and McGregor. Jesus
I
Christ.
think they were trying to appeal to the wrestling fans to get a UFC type product because this is freestyle, collegiate style wrestling that's unscripted, but like.
But it's got to be understood that freestyle wrestling is not UFC.
No.
They're not.
Yes. Yeah, well, in the collegiate style wrestling, the Greco-Roman, like, if someone's getting down on all fours and the other person's on top of you to, like, start in a lot of these, no one's going to fucking want to watch that.
No.
Like, the reason that sport does well at the Olympic level is because it has the Olympia knowledge. It's part of the original Olympics. The reason it does so well at the collegiate level is because it's a team sport. So, like, there's a team strategy element, weight classes, etc. I don't understand how this will appeal to the casual viewing audience.
So,
I don't
like,
think I'm going to give it the time of day.
Bloodsport, I can understand, but like the fact they're trying to compete with AEW and WWE, that's just not going to work.
It's fucking stupid. Is what it is.
Realistically, UFC has even had to like take stuff from WWE. Like, there's a reason that you're watching the build up to a UFC fight, and they have these like essentially promo shots
Yeah.
between the fighters. Like, they're essentially cutting promos on each other because you need to have some kind of. Okay, look, if you're just watching this wrestler go out onto the mat versus this wrestler, and you're given no information about them, who are you going to cheer for? That's your number one. Like, you got no one to cheer for. You got nobody to get behind. You have no dog in this fight, and at that point, you don't care and you change the channel.
Well,
just that fast.
From a marketing standpoint, it seems like a generally boring thing to try to market. You'd be better off just doing a version of UFC, freestyle UFC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then like you could blend elements of wrestling into it where it's not scripted, but you could have the promo segments. You could have I challenge you to a Greco-Roman style match, brother. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
It at least would feel more genuine as a product.
But isn't that what
to me this is a huge flop waiting to happen, and I'm not going to give it the time of day. This is probably the only time I'll talk about it.
I mean, isn't that basically what Bloodsport is, though? Like, that's kind of.
Bloodsport's a little different. Bloodsport's a little different, Daniel.
Also, yeah, well, Bloodsport's all about like knockouts and submissions.
You say that, and like I'm just like imagining Kurt Angle walking into the Bloodsport arena. I'm just like, oh, this is gonna end badly.
I had the same thought.
I mean, I was thinking Kurt Angle would just.
You guys keep saying,
yeah,
Bloodsport. I keep thinking Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
Gotta go buy that Funko Pop, man.
Instead of Jean-Claude Van Damme walking in, it's Chad Gable. And you're just like, oh
God.
This is not going to go well. The movie's ending very, very differently now.
Oh, yeah. That movie is not ending anywhere. There's no happy ending in this movie.
Hear me out. I don't remember if it was Bloodsport or if it's in one of the other Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Well, let's get Chad Gable some karate training, some kung fu training. I think you might have the next Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, Jesus.
Imagine that. Imagine him dancing like Claude Van Damme did in Jean-Claude Van Damme did in that movie where he's like...
According to Chris is very convinced that Chad Gable is all...
El Grande Americano?
El Grande Americano. So You know, if he has already mastered the world of lucha, it might be time to master the world of martial arts. Like
Oh
that's
my
his gimmick.
God.
Is he goes and
Oh God.
masters every type of wrestling out there. Like
Oh
I
my
can't
God.
wait for Chad Gable to be the master of the big men. That's going to be a great.
Chad Gable, Dean Malenko 2.0, master of 1,000 art forms.
Do you know what
Oh,
I would like
God.
to see though? Chad Gable know how to do Japanese strong style. I mean, that would just be brutal.
But that could honestly be hilarious. Like put him in a match against Shinsuke Nakamura, and like Shinsuke like just absolutely just wrecks him with some old school strong style, and then he comes back the next week and he's like, now that I've lost to Shinsuke Nakamura and I've learned his ways, I have mastered the art of strong style. I've added that I am now a master of 27 styles of wrestling. And like he just,
That
Oh
would
my
be
god,
that would be
a really good
great
promo to like
if
we
they
trained
didn't
for Jericho's
quietly.
2001 holds. It's like I know
That'd be a new spin on Jericho's list of 1,000 moves.
exactly.
Armbar.
1-inch punch. 1-inch punch. That would be great actually if they wouldn't have quietly also released Shinsuke Nakamura recently.
yeah.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh.
You know, yeah. At least that's what I was reading. I haven't seen any confirmation about that, but
I
did see Chelsea.
I know the part you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, one with Chelsea.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us this week. As always, guys, make sure you go to enforce2.com, enter the code SOG25 to get your 25% off.
Chris, what will that make you?
What's that?
What will that make you?
HARD.
Oh, he said it. He said the line.
And now you'll help fund Chris's retirement in Shady Pines. All right,
At
guys.
least it's
that'll
not
do it
Shitty
for us this
Pines.
week.
You were like,
Talk to you guys later.
all right.
Later.